Speaking of moments, you've been, as you mentioned, your career with the Fever. First six, though, were tough, obviously. They weren't as easy. You guys have made the playoffs the last two. What's been the big turnaround? How have you viewed the way the team has grown organically?
Kelsey Mitchell has finally spoken out in a way that fans have been waiting for. After months of sticking to routine interviews, polished responses, and hearing endless speculation from media voices shaping their own versions of the narrative, the true veteran and heartbeat of the Indiana Fever broke through with raw honesty. What she gave was not a routine answer. It was a truth bomb so striking that the entire WNBA is still reacting, still trying to decipher its full meaning. Every word she delivered carried weight, and every tone in her voice was deliberate. In that moment, Mitchell reminded everyone that leadership does not always come from being the loudest in the room. It comes from conviction. What she shared was not just a piece of commentary. It was a statement powerful enough to potentially change the way we talk about Caitlin Clark, the Fever, and the WNBA itself. Her words carried emotion and meaning when she said, "And then you bring in Caitlin, who changed the world, changed the dynamic of basketball. And as a friend and as a player, you grow to appreciate her because certain doors have opened because she's come to the Fever. And you have to respect that. And I love the teammate and person in her because she's accepted it with so much grace and even welcomed us with open arms to, make this thing happen. So I think it just took a lot of big pieces to make, what it is now." That's where the real debate begins. Was Mitchell simply expressing admiration for her teammate? Was this the subtle beginning of a professional rivalry? Or was it something even greater, a perfectly calculated, brutally honest, and refreshingly authentic evaluation that set a new bar for truth in professional sports? That is the very question fans are wrestling with today. Yet, before we dive into the heart of what she said, it's worth pausing to consider a larger question. Do you believe Caitlin Clark has not only revolutionized women's basketball but also shifted the way the world views the sport as a whole? Are we living through the most important turning point in modern sports history? Is Caitlin Clark the needle that moves everything? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Mitchell's words only grew more powerful when she turned directly toward Caitlin and said, "You've changed the world in so many ways. You've done it with so much grace, and I'm so happy to take the forward with you, to be able to be a part of this experience. But I want to tell you to give yourself some grace, kid. You've done a lot of things that not a lot of people can do. And from me to you, I'm always going to be a fan. I'm always going to be in your corner. I'm always going to be in your back court." That is the magnitude of the conversation that Mitchell has brought to the table. Her comments carry weight because they come from someone who has lived through every high and every low. Mention the Indiana Fever in any context, and you already know what's coming next: the Caitlin Clark question. It's unavoidable, as certain as sunrise. It doesn't matter if the conversation starts with defensive schemes, a player's favorite pregame snack, or even the weather outside, it always circles back to Clark. That has become the reality of Indiana basketball. But this time, the one giving the answer was not a rookie or role player. It was Kelsey Mitchell. Mitchell was reminded of her journey when someone asked her, "But you've been with Indiana through the thick and thin. You've been with them since, like we was talking like we about to go get our rhythm on, Indiana. You've been there. You stuck through until now being in a semifinals. What does that feel like? And for people watching, like girls, boys, whether they're athletes or not, what does it feel like to stick through something and now see it come full fold?" That question gets to the heart of why Mitchell's voice matters. She isn't just another player on the roster. She is the survivor, the constant, the one who carried Indiana through the darkness. For years, she was the lone spark trying to keep a franchise alive, dragging the team through seasons so brutal they barely seemed real. This is the same Kelsey Mitchell who played through a season where the team won only 5 games. The same player who endured a revolving door of coaches, 5 in just 8 years. The same competitor who had to show up after 24-point losses, deliver polite cliches to reporters, and pretend that there were building blocks hidden somewhere in the rubble. Night after night, she wasn't just playing basketball, she was pushing a boulder uphill all alone. When asked about the Fever's turnaround, You guys have made the playoffs the last two. What's been the big turnaround? How have you viewed the way the team has grown organically? Mitchell offered her insight. Oh man, I think a big shout out to the organization taking time to rebuild. I think our draft picks ended up coming big. Lexi Hull was a big draft pick, and then you get Caitlin, and then you get AB. And so you accumulate that together with my experience, having to go through a couple of things before they got there. I think it was just like a match made in heaven, really. Because I was still at a young age to really vibe and get to know these players for who they were. And then you bring in Caitlin, who changed the world, changed the dynamic of basketball. And as a friend and as a player, you grow to appreciate her because certain doors have opened because she's come to the Fever, and you have to respect that. This is why her words about Caitlin Clark cannot be brushed off as surface-level PR fluff. Mitchell is not the type to hand out empty praise. Her message came sharpened by years of pain, persistence, and survival. What she said was clear. Caitlin Clark hasn't just changed the Fever, she has transformed the entire basketball ecosystem. Her exact words struck like an earthquake. Clark has changed the world, changed the dynamic of basketball itself. That kind of statement cannot be dismissed as a compliment. It's an admission, and a powerful one at that. It came from the one player who could have easily harbored bitterness, the one who had fought for years in obscurity while carrying the franchise's weight. Instead, she looked into the camera and said, in essence, "Without Caitlin, none of this is possible. The sellouts, the primetime coverage, the global headlines, all of it." Even when reminded that she had just been an MVP finalist, with experts like Jana publicly saying she had the best season of any guard in the league, Mitchell still kept her answer grounded. She said, "Oh, I appreciate it. I've been through a lot throughout the course of my career with Indiana Fever. It's been like my longest ever. So, for me it's a humbling experience to kind of see myself make waves from where it started to where it is now and just kind of respect the game. Lean on the game as far as creating bonds and friendships. And now you get to see us do that now, like a couple years later." What makes all of this even more powerful is that there wasn't a single trace of jealousy in her words. No bitterness, no shade, no resentment. Just authenticity and genuine respect. That makes her comments incredibly rare. Mitchell didn't minimize her own contributions either. She reminded everyone, quietly but firmly, that before Caitlin Clark arrived, she was the one carrying the load. She was the one fighting through irrelevance, laying the foundation, keeping the Fever alive. That's an undeniable truth. Without her, Indiana might have collapsed entirely. She was not just a player, she was the generator keeping the franchise from going dark. Now, in 2025, her loyalty is paying off, not just in stats, but in legacy. Her words elevated Clark while reaffirming her own. That's the brilliance of her statement. It wasn't about rivalry or insecurity. It was about proving that real leaders don't run from competition. They embrace it. And that's why fans everywhere are still talking about what Mitchell said. Because it wasn't rehearsed, it wasn't fake, it was real. In a league too often defined by jealousy and petty rivalries, with veterans like Aya Wilson throwing shade or Cheryl Swoops making digs, Mitchell's statement flipped the entire narrative. She showed that honesty and respect can coexist, that you can recognize a generational star while still honoring your own legacy. She continued, "Oh man, it's an unbelievable experience. It's a moment that I don't want to take for granted. I want to cherish it as much as I possibly can. Like I said, I don't only use this moment as a time to not grow. And so hopefully the mental preparation that I've been through and the things I've been through can kind of help me get through these moments. And then, just, loving basketball for what it is and just, loving the game and having fun with it." Her perspective cannot be separated from the Fever's journey. When Lexi Hull first arrived, Indiana was still a joke, the butt of the league's jokes. Victories were rare, losses piled up, and the Fever drifted on the edge of irrelevance. Mitchell carried the weight, smiling through post-game interviews while reality said otherwise. Then came Aaliyah Boston, finally giving Indiana a foundation. And then Caitlin Clark arrived, A force of nature who bent not only the WNBA but the entire sports media landscape to her orbit. Through it all, Mitchell didn't complain, didn't demand out, didn't sulk. She embraced the change. She understood that this wasn't a threat, it was the revolution she had been waiting for. Her endorsement of Clark carries immense weight because she has lived both versions of Indiana basketball. She knows what hopelessness looked like, and now she knows what a future looks like. Her words made it clear, Caitlin Clark is not just a good player. She is the change agent who redefined everything.